You know, when you was talking about jokes and you said Mike Rogers, that's really all you had to say. My name is Bradley Turner. I'm the Vice Chair of Labor for the Alabama Democratic Party. Our keynote speaker is a dear friend and somebody who will fight to the death for workers' rights. Bren Riley is the president of the Alabama AFL-CIO. AFL-CIO is a federation of unions that represents over 50,000 union members and is made up of 37 international unions from across the state. The Alabama AFL-CIO serves as part of the national AFL-CIO, which is made up of 12.5 million workers. You don't want to miss his message. I tell people that have never heard Bren speak, he has no filter. So,
I don't need that.
oh, I know.
Hey, if it comes up, it comes out. My mouth's big enough, y'all probably... Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Hey, first of all, thank you for you and all the work y'all do. I guarantee y'all are doing more in Calhoun County than the state Democratic Party. And I keep up with you via email and websites, and thank you for what you do. To the candidates running, thank you for putting your neck on the chopping block, because I see a lot of potential candidates. They come and talk to me and they talk about the money. A good friend of mine called me right after qualifying. He was excited. He said,
It might be good to amplify. We have some hearing back here.
how's that? But he was excited about running for House District 15. And I was excited for him to run because he's a lawyer, he's a labor lawyer. But I asked him, I said, did they tell you it's going to cost you $700,000 to win this seat? He said, you could hear the wind come out of it. He said, do what? I said, it's going to cost you on average $700,000 for a House seat that pays $54,000 a year. Next year, it don't pay that this year. Next year, it's going to be $54,000. So you're going to generate in income less than half of what it's going to cost you to get elected. But I kind of thought about what my message needed to be, and I want to talk about what we used to do, what maybe we're doing now, and maybe where we need to go. But I've been around, I'm 66 years old, and I'm from Glencoe, Alabama. I'm from Etowah County. And Etowah County, Alabama, the big joke used to be you could put all the Republicans in a phone booth in Etowah County, Alabama. Well, guess what? There ain't no phone booths no more. And there ain't no Democrats either. Very few of us left. Not only in Etowah County, but throughout the South now. Y'all do a great job over here. Jefferson County does a good job. But there's a reason that we don't have a statewide Democrat elected in Alabama. And it goes back, prior to 2010, the previous 136 years, Democrats had control. That being said, they wasn't all Democrats. Just like today, they ain't all Republicans. Back then, the only way you could get elected was be a Democrat. Today, it's hard for a Democrat to get elected. So, that being said, a lot of these jokers I work with, they like me, they can't even spell Republican. But they are one to get elected or get reelected. So, roll on around in 2010 in the state of Alabama, the Republicans, they started trying to pick us off. They'd pick them a couple of races and, they'd try to win. You can't win 105 House seats. That's what I told Representative Daniels this year. I said, we need to pick us out 2 or 3, 4 races and try to do to them what they did to us. In Etowah County, the Republican Party would qualify a collie dog if they could get one to slow down. The Democrats are nearly that way now. And like I said, for the folks that's running as a Democrat, hats off to you. You know, I appreciate it. Wish you well. You know, and in years past, there were a lot more union members in the state of Alabama than they are today. And with more union members became more PAC money. So, you know, politicians used to use us like an ATM machine. I've cut them off. I don't give them much money because we don't have any. We don't have the money like we used to have. But, you know, we still do our endorsements. Our endorsements are still popular with some of them. A lot of them thought because the AFL-CIO endorsed you, you got a nice check. I had one lady run for Secretary of State. She talked to me like a damn barred mule. Now, sometimes I cuss a little bit, so I want to apologize in advance. So don't. My mother used to wash my mouth out with soap, but that didn't help much either. But you know, I hate saying this, but the big change we see happened when Barack Obama got elected president. And if he was a white man, they'd think he's the best president we've ever had. But in the South, the white man ain't never got over the black man being in the White House. And I don't know how to fix that. And the message the Republicans use every day to the white man is clear and unambiguous. And that message is, if you're white, you by God better vote Republican. Because them blacks, sometimes they'll use that other word, them queers, and sometimes they'll use 2 or 3 other words, and then people going to take your guns are the Democrats. The white redneck in the South believes that stuff. And I don't know how to fix it. But all they got to do is fly a flag of Nancy Pelosi from Mobile to Huntsville, Alabama, and this whole goddamn state's mad. They mad as that. You know, and I don't know Nancy Pelosi, and you know, hey, I don't know what kind of job she's doing. I got an idea, but you know, that's California's vote. That ain't mine. But you know, I just don't. I come, believe it or not, I come from a very religious family. My daddy is fixing to be 90 years old. He's been a Baptist choir director all his life. I've been baptized, raised in the church. But some of my family, they drink the Kool-Aid. They think Donald Trump is the second coming of Christ or something. I don't know why, but in my opinion, if Donald Trump's a Christian, I'm a Jewish rabbi. And I ain't ever been to a Jewish church, so I don't know nothing about that either. But, you know, in our work, and Bradley will say the same thing, union members today in the South probably on average will vote Republican 70% of the time. And, you know, us as voters, I served on my city council over in Glencoe for 16 years. I've been a full-time union guy for about 25 years. And we got to do a better job as voters. Because I guarantee you, every one of you in here that go to church, if y'all knew the preacher was having an affair with the piano player, you'd run both our asses off. The preacher and the piano player. That's what we got to do with politicians. Because the worst day a politician has, I don't care if it's City Hall or the White House or the Union Hall, when people start coming and sniffing around, asking questions and all, it makes them nervous. They don't like that. So we as voters we've got to do a better job holding them to account. And hey, if they do stuff stupid, vote them out. 4 years ago, the Republicans brought a bill in Montgomery to reduce state unemployment benefits from a maximum of 26 weeks to 12 weeks. Now, if you had a job like I had at Goodyear, if you got laid off, and I got laid off a couple of times, do you think Marvin's is going to hire me to go to work? No, you ain't going to get a job because they know when Goodyear calls you, you're going back to Goodyear. So 12 weeks goes by pretty quick. we were able to kill that bill 3 years in a row because the leadership was so stupid they kept putting it in the same committee where we had enough Democratic friends that we could kill the bill by just having them go use the bathroom. So, as Democratic legislators, sometimes having a bowel movement helps us out. And hey, I'll ask you, hey, if you don't mind, could you go take a dump? I call them on the phone, hey, don't you need to go take a leak? Leave the meeting, you know. So we were able to kill that bill 3 years in a row. Well, the fourth year they finally moved it to a state government committee that we didn't have enough friends or enough Democrats to kill it. So it passed. But in the committee hearing, I asked the sponsor of the bill, Senator Arthur Orr from Decatur, I said, why are we doing that? Why are we cutting state unemployment benefits from 26 weeks to 12? And you know what his answer was? Because Georgia did it. I said, are you shitting me? Because Georgia did it? I said, hey, Georgia's got a lottery. Hell, let's get a lottery. Georgia's got the Braves. Let's get the Braves. Georgia's got the Falcon. Let's get the Falcon. I said, you got to be kidding me. Because Georgia did it. What we see in our legislature down here, we're not smart enough to come up with our own ideas. We wait on them to pass something in Arkansas. And we call them ALEC bills, the American Legislative Exchange Commission or whatever. They come with this model legislation. And they, you know, if you're elected as a legislator, they're going to invite you out to San Diego and feed you a big ribeye and give you some nice champagne and some $800 wine. And they're going to hand you some model legislation sitting there, get back here to Senate, get it passed. And that's what we see. So, it's just like 4 years ago when these rookies got elected. The first bill they voted on was the gas tax increase. Well, Mamaw, our governor, she got involved early and often on these candidates, and during the screening process, if they didn't commit to voting for this gas tax, Mamaw cut them off. They ain't gonna get elected, and if they did, they wouldn't get nothing passed because that's the way Mamaw runs her show. And talking about her, back in May, I get an email from the White House. And they asked me on May the 24th or whatever, if I could go down to Troy, Alabama, where they make these Javelin rockets that's blowing them Russian tanks up over in Ukraine. Our governor couldn't take 15 minutes out of her busy schedule to come greet Joe Biden. So I said, yeah, I'll go. So I got a picture of Joe, and I put it on Facebook. Me and old Joe sitting there smiling. I rented me a nice suit getting by the president. I put that thing on Facebook, and the caption said, Goofy K couldn't take 15 minutes out of her busy schedule to come greet the president, so I did. Within 3 weeks, I get a letter from the State Department of Revenue. They audited my damn taxes. 3 more weeks, they hacked my Facebook account, posted some child pornography, and they put me in Facebook prison. And the only way I got out of it, this pervert Secretary of State we got, John Merrill's a friend of mine. He got me out of Facebook jail for child pornography.
That you could do that.
But these ruthless son of guns, they'll get you. But where we go from here, I told somebody earlier, we actually have a reputation of being Democratic only. And this day and time, we encourage our members to actually research, find out about the candidate, and we encourage our members to vote for folks that's going to support them. I don't care what party they're in. I don't care what bathroom they use. I don't care what church they go to. I don't care who they sleep with. You know, I'm a liberal guy. I mean, if you want to have an abortion, I'm okay with that. I'm not going to have one. 4 years ago, they had the vaginal probe bill come up down in Montgomery, and outside our House of Representatives, they had 2 tables like that right there. 10 feet of little fetuses, little 16-week babies, little black ones and little white ones. They had them boys stacked up out there looking pretty, and I go up to the guy and said, hey, are these, do you squeeze these things when you're under stress at your desk? He said, no. That's a fully developed human being that you kill when you have an abortion. I said, well, can I have a couple of them? He said, well, what's your opinion on abortion? I said, well, bud, I can guarantee you one thing, I won't never have one. He said, well, what about this child? It didn't have a choice. I said, man, or buddy, I don't know about all that. I said, you know, all I know is I didn't have no choice on a lot of stuff. You know, I was born in 1956, and they carried me down, circumcised me. Hell, I don't remember masking me. I said 6 years later, they carried me back to that same hospital. They took my tonsils out. They snatched them out. I said, I don't remember having a choice. But this child never had a choice. I said, well, bud, you look like you get mad, and I need to go too, but can I ask you one question before I go? He said, yeah, what's that? I said, if Osama bin Laden's mother would have had an abortion, would the world be a better place? And he looked at me like, I said, you have a nice day. I still got my little fetus. But hey, these hateful son of a guns down there, they love the fetus. They hate the child. They love the veterans. No, they love the soldier. They hate the veterans. And the only way we fix this is vote these jokers out. And you know, and I don't know. They say if you got an alcoholic or a drug addict in your family, they got to hit rock bottom before they change. Where's the bottom? I mean, I believe some of them, they jumping out and they jumping ship. You know, and I told a guy this earlier this evening, maybe it's our fault as union negotiators. Right over here at Goodyear, me and Butch Mitchell was involved with a lot of contract negotiations. Most of them guys, before they shut the plant down, lived in a nice brick home on the Coosa River. Their wife drove a Lexus SUV. They drove a F-250 pulling a Ranger bass boat. They 3 paydays from bankruptcy, and they think they're a damn Republican? Come on. Come on. You know, Republicans take care of folks with money. I ain't never had enough to be one. And, you know, I don't know what that number is, but the people that go to work every day, and I said this earlier tonight, you know, if Jesus was here today, he'd be a Democrat. I feel that because I was on the city council at Glencoe, and Larry Maines was running for re-election in Senate District 10, and they wouldn't let him speak to our volunteer fire department. And he called me, and I wasn't even on the council anymore, but he said, Riley, they won't let me speak to the volunteer fire department. I said, why? He said, the mayor's not going to let us speak. So I called the mayor. I said, Peanut, Larry Maines said, you ain't going to be able to speak to the volunteer fire department. He said, yeah, we ain't going to turn this into no political event. I said, Peanut, you always speak to the volunteer fire department. You do when you run for mayor, hell. He said, yeah, but he's a Democrat. And it slipped. He didn't really want to say that. I said, now the truth has come out. I said, Peanut, now I remember Peanut when he was sorry and me, but he got a divine intervention now. And, you know, he went from this extreme to this one. But I said, Peanut, you know, if Jesus was here today, he'd be a Democrat. He said, hey, you got that figured? I said, well, number one, he's a carpenter. He's probably a member of the building trades in Jerusalem. I said, but number two, he cared about folks. He healed the sick. He made the blind see. I said, but the biggest thing makes me know he was a Democrat. He took 2 fish and 5 loaves and fed a multitude. He said, well, what's that got to do with it? I said, hey, if he'd have been a Republican, he'd have told them hungry son of guns, I got mine, y'all get y'all. I believe that. Hey, we all know what it's going to take to get folks. We got to get folks out I went and voted absentee because I'm here, there, yonder. I voted absentee. I used it as kind of an early vote. I went over to the judicial building in Gadsden. My wife and me, we filled out the application, we voted, we put it in an envelope, put it in another envelope, boom, it's done. So, the human billboards y'all were talking about, one of the candidates were talking about, we used to do that with James Hayes over there, and we had a ball doing it. We may have 50 trucks with big signs in the back. The human billboard, they do good, but knocking them doors, you know, signs don't vote. And you know, all these new consultants now, they want to get all your money and they want to do all this analytical stuff, and you know, but going out and putting skin in folks' hand and asking them, telling them what you got to, you know, your plan is, goes further than any of these robocalls. You know, mailers, those glossy mailers, when I see them, I don't even care who the candidate is. I throw in the garbage. I don't want to hear it, boy. I don't want to see it. But is there any question that y'all may have about the AFL-CIO or what's going on? And give me some hard stuff now. Yes, sir.
My older son lives in Glencoe, and he just started working for Coke, the chicken plant, about 2 weeks ago, and he's making good money. The union representative came and made a presentation to 10 folks who had just been employed, just hired.
Yeah.
And my son, God bless him, I didn't even know he did this till he told me about it later, but he was the only one that signed up for the union. I'm very proud of him for that, and I'm just wondering, it's been such a short time, what union is represented there, and are they being respected properly?
Yeah, they're represented by the RWDSU, the Retail Wholesale Department Store employees. And for a long time, I thought that Coke bunch was actually part of the Koch brothers.
Yeah.
It's not.
Oh, it is?
No. It's not the Koch brothers that you think it is.
Well, that's what I thought.
Yeah, and I thought
that they even had.
Yeah, I thought that same thing, because we battled with them down in Montgomery during the COVID deal, because a lot of employees were getting, you know, exposed to COVID. You know, I worked at the chicken plant. I worked at that chicken plant a day and a half. A day and a half. I had hair down to my butt. I used to have to part my hair to take a dump. They made me put it up my damn hairnet, and I had me one of them chicken plant hats on, them white hard hats with the bill sawed off like them chickens.
Yeah.
And these chickens would come around on a conveyor. They were doing 35 mile an hour, and they'd drop off, and I'd get them and put them in a box a certain way. Well, I was busy trying to keep ahead of them things, because if you got behind, they'd fall out on the floor and they'd be over there hollering at you. Well, back then, there was some girls on the giblet table, they called it. They'd take a neck and a heart and a gizzard and a liver, and they'd roll it up and they'd stick it up them chicken butts doing 35 mile an hour. Hey, it looked like I Love Lucy. Me over there, hey, I looked like a monkey doing a football. And then all of a sudden I'd feel something. And I'd look, and there'd be a liver on me. And I'd look over there where them girls were. They steadily. I'd get back to busy. I'd feel something. There'd be a butt, or I'd cut them butts off. I'd look back over there. And every time I'm looking, I'm getting behind. Well, them girls, they steadily rolling that stuff. Well, I finally just said, I left, hey, the first day, we got a free meal. Any kind of chicken you wanted. I left at lunch the next day. I left there and went to Forest Avenue to join the Air Force. I never even went back for my check. I didn't want that. But hey, RWDSU, they do a good job representing those folks.
Fortunately, he got a job right up to bat working with boxes that have already been packed. So
Yeah.
He's at that stage.
Well, I used to put them in those boxes.
The giblets all over it.
Yeah, well, I think that's all automated now. This was like 1973.
Yeah.
But RWDSU, they're the same bunch that's got the campaign going at Amazon in Birmingham. And you know, that's another story, but you know, on average, those folks working for Jeff Bezos, on average, make about $17 an hour. I think it's like $16.49 or something an average. But it's tough on us to organize those kind of places because you know what? Our leadership in Alabama thinks $7.25 is a good wage. And they also believe that if you get 3 of them, you'll make $21.75. But you got to get 3 of them. So, and enough hours in the day. So it's tough organizing those kind of places because you guess what? You got to factor in the spouse. You know, I'm making $17 an hour now. Instead of my old lady driving a Sentra, she's got a damn huge Lexus now. So when I start thinking about, hey, I'm thinking join the union, she may be on me, ho now. You know, Bezos got enough money to fly up to outer space. Bezos telling them people, y'all vote the union in here, I will shut it down in Bessemer, Alabama. We know he's bought property on I-20 out toward the racetrack in Talladega. He's got enough money to build another one there and make you drive from Bessemer to Talladega for $9.50. And it, you know, it's tough. You know, a guy making, or a lady making $17, 95% of them probably left a job paying $7.25. So it's big to them. They eat a little better. They drive a little nicer car. They may have a little money in their pocket. But
Well, my other son, my younger son, worked at the Amazon fulfillment plant, one of the ones in Nashville, for 3 years. And they're very anti-union. And his biggest complaint was not the pay, but that nobody can really move up. They cycle them out. They work it out where you're going to be cycled out within 3 years.
not right.
And it works that way.
Not right.
And so
Hey, it's a never-ending crew getting off that $7.25 to come into that 15, 16, 17, 20, you know, whatever.
then they can't go anywhere from there.
Hey, they work them like a borrowed mule. I mean, yes, sir.
How many union members are in Alabama?
He read 50,000. That's, if you go to the Department of Labor website, they actually say there's 120,000 union members in the state of Alabama, but they look at the AEA as a labor organization, and they're not. They are an association. On average, and I can tell you what we get per cap from, there's 37 international unions affiliated, and we average about per capita tax dues that they pay to be in our organization. We, on average, will average about 65,000 a month members. Now, what we do, we get $1.10 per member per month, and that funds our whole. And basically, people ask me, I don't do contract negotiation anymore. I don't do grievance handling. The AFL-CIO is really the political. We're a cheap lobbyist. I go over there and fool with these jokers, try to, you know, every morning I get up, tie my tie, look in the mirror, I say, well, old boy, the very best you can do today is make a piece of shitty legislation bad. You know, and I hate saying that, but you know, you kind of tying that tie, you think, really? I mean, and these legislators, they know going in over there in a super minority, the Republican Party don't need one Democratic vote to pass any piece of legislation. And you know what? That's kind of like lining up on that defensive line, knowing that big old offensive lineman done knocked you on your butt 14 times, he can get you again. You got to kind of give it to these folks, knowing that they're going to get their head kicked in every day they go to work. But, you know, hey, it's a big happy. I was telling somebody earlier, Dale Marsh, I was at a little old drinking establishment last year, and Dale Marsh and them smoking them big cigars. Me and a few lobbyists, they were about 3 or 4 Republican senators, 3 or 4 Democratic senators. And old Marsh leaned back and sucked on that big Havana. He said, well, I don't know what we're gonna do now that Obama and Hillary's out of the picture. We ain't got nothing to blame this on. And that's what they look for. They look for something, that key word, that Pelosi, that Obama, that, you know, Don Siegelman, they still beating old Don up. He's a buddy of mine. And, you know, they railroaded him, but I don't know. Any other question? Yes, sir.
Does it look like we've got any industries coming up for Pike for Alabama, or is anything showing up?
Well, the governor, or the President Biden just, you know, we're getting some money toward, North Alabama's getting a lot of stuff up there. They got the new Toyota Mazda plant up there. There's going to be some new battery, there's a couple battery places going in down around Tuscaloosa, around the Mercedes. You know, I don't know how people feel about the electric cars, but they coming. I mean, hey, I ain't old enough to remember. They said that there ain't no way the combustion engine gonna do away with my horse and buggy, but you know, I ain't seen a horse and buggy lately either. So, but you know, I don't know. This crazy world, and what gets me is my family, man. I can't believe, you know, my family.
Tell me about it. I know about it too.
Well, I mean, I said something the other day. You know, I'm so glad that old Jim Jones didn't come through here getting up a bunch of jokers to go down to Guyana and drink that goddamn Kool-Aid, because I'd had some family members swole up. You know. But
I have one more question.
put it on.
What's coming in the Goodyear plant?
Yeah, that's a big bunch of bull. Here's the same thing that came to the steel plant. That's the best answer I can come. A real estate person, they're doing some testing now on some of the, you know, that's a toxic dump over there. That thing opened in 1929, and they ain't no telling. Me and Butch was there. I was there 33 and a half years, and Butch was there 40-something years, and it's a dang hazardous dump. But what the prospect they've got wants to buy the place and rent you 30,000 square feet for you to run your business, and then I'm gonna rent this other. I'm gonna put a dang bowling alley in over here, and then this guy over here is gonna have a skating rink, and it's gonna be. They had those same kind of ideas for the steel plant when it went away, and it never materialized. My wife retired from the tax collector's office over in Etowah County. She said the property tax on that big son of a gun's nearly $2 million a year. So,
Does the city own it?
no, you know, there was some rumors that got out that you know, something about the parking lot back in 1976 when they actually voted to build the new radio plant. I think there was some trading around and swapping around, because if you remember, that old road that used to come in front of the old Baptist Hospital came right in front of the plant. All that got closed and moved, so there was some, but no, Goodyear owns it. And, you know, and I was part of the negotiating committee in 2006. Goodyear came to 4 states. They came to North Carolina, Tennessee, Alabama, and Texas. And I was with them in the governor's financial guy's office in Montgomery, and Goodyear asked the same question to the leaders of those 4 states. And the question that I heard them ask, we would like to invest a minimum $125 million in our plant in your state. What's in it for us? What kind of incentives are in it for us? We know what you've done in Alabama for Mercedes. We know what you did for Honda. We know what you did for Hyundai. We know what you did for TK Steel. What's in it for us? And the state of Alabama's finance people said, how many jobs, how many new jobs will $125 million create? And Goodyear told the truth. I couldn't believe it. Goodyear said, may not create any. Because guess what? With new technology, comes less of us. And that's why we in organized labor have always pushed back from technology, because we were very protective of our jobs. We actually ended up putting together a $50 million incentive package. We got $20 million out of Bob Riley, who I ain't no kin to. The city of Gadsden agreed to do a $20 million bond issue, and then the state says, look, we'll do up to $10 million training reimbursement. So it could have been a potential $40 million with a $10 million, up to $10 million for training. They shut Tyler, Texas down and kept Gadsden open. The city of Gadsden never gave them a damn nickel. Frankie Davis, who is Mayor Sherman Guyton's legislative person, he called me 3 years ago. He said, where you at? I said, I'm at the beach. I got a place in Panama City. And he said, what do you think Goodyear's going to do? I said, Frankie, they're gone. He said, what do you mean? I said, man, y'all screwed them. He said, we didn't screw them. I said, you didn't give them the money? I said, Frankie, I've been around corporate America a little more than you have, and when you screw Goodyear, guess what? They take notes. They screw back. They gone. And hey, that son of a gun's a big old empty building now. And if the city, and see, we've got an occupational tax in Gadsden. Our payroll was $111 million a year. 2% of that, and that's what we paid, just Butch Mitchell and me, we didn't live in Gadsden, but we paid 2% of our salary each week to the city of Gadsden for the privilege of working in the city of Gadsden. So what I'd do, I'd save up all my spit cups and beer cans and shit, and I'd get over in Gadsden, I'd throw it out, I'd litter. I'm going to get my $20 back. But just the occupational tax would have paid their debt service on that $20 million. But old Frankie, he let old Sherman, and Sherman, both of them a friend of mine, but Sherman, he didn't know nothing about government, and Goodyear's not there today, and that's the very reason. And they know they done built a plant in Mexico, and it sunk like in the well. So, any other questions?
I have 2 jobs, one at my grocery store and one at Walmart. So as an unpaid cashier, can I join a union?
If you can find you one. Hey, I saw a thing the other day talking about there was a stranger went in the break area at Walmart, and they said, hey, what the hell are you doing here? He said, well, hey, I use a self-checkout. I'm employed. I'm going to take a break. I try not to use those things, but that's where. But hey, thank y'all for what you do. I mean, especially the candidates. I mean, and I failed to recognize one of my Butch Mitchell. He's like a big brother I never had. I got elected full time at the Union Hall back in 1995, and when I got elected, the first day, instead of going into the plant and working a job, I went to the office. When I got elected, I weighed about 135 pounds. Next thing I knew, I weighed 360. But Butch is on our state Fed executive board. He's charged with keeping me straight, and he's like a big brother I never had.
I'm gonna catch you, by the way.
Yeah.
Hey, this was mild here tonight. Trust me, this was mild. But I'm gonna use, he does one hell of a job in Montgomery for who? The people it works for a living. I know that.
Well,
I was down there before he come with our previous 2 administrations, and they wasn't worth nothing. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, let's give them a hand.